so much. In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. We thank Allah for His intervention in our affairs, not only us but all of humanity. He always guides man back to the straight path whenever we go astray. The Holy Quran reads that there are many, many prophets, most of whom we do not know. But there are major prophets, particularly in the last 6,000-year cycle, whose names we do know. And we give special thanks to Allah for Moses and the Torah, for Jesus Christ and the Gospel, for Muhammad ibn Abdullah and the Holy Quran. I, Ava Muhammad, a sister, a black woman in North America, am personally grateful to Allah for His intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, who came from the city of Mecca, Saudi Arabia, alone in 1930 to the shores of North America, and made himself known the next year. Master Farrakhan Muhammad is indeed, beloved, the great Mahdi that all are waiting for. He encountered, as is prophesied and as we've been told, he encountered that one from among us, because Allah never sends a people a prophet or messenger or speaks through anyone but one from among that people, who shares their lineage and their language and their experience. And the one Master Farrakhan Muhammad encountered in the city of Detroit, a grandson of slaves, one who was among the 6 million black people who between 1915 and 1970 constituted the greatest continental migration in history. When black people left the South, seeking to escape domestic terrorism at the hands of our enemy, the Caucasians, who had held us in slavery. And when we came to the North, it was not much better. We suffered here as well in the West. We suffered in the East and the North and the South. And as one of our brothers said, and it continues to this moment. But we thank Allah that He met that grandson of slaves, little Elijah Poole, who became and was always destined to be that one from among us, and we now know to be the promised Messiah and predicted Christ of Scripture, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thank Master Farrakhan Muhammad and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who I never saw, never met, never knew. But I thank Allah for mercy, because as a cancer patient, a young attorney in New York City, where money could not buy me health, my education could not save my life, but I went out one day to hear a message. I saw a poster in a subway station in New York City, and it said, "Truth crushed to the earth will rise again." Louis Farrakhan speaks at the 369th Armory. I went out to hear that man, and I've been following him ever since. Brothers and sisters, how can I thank you enough for taking time to be out here this afternoon? And it is our time. I have to acknowledge our great MC, Brother Hannibal, the multi-talented Brother Hannibal. Brother Tremikas Muhammad from the local organizing committee. Forge Consulate, Brother Travis L. Temple 9, Brother Clovis Campbell, the co-publisher of the Arizona Informant. Don't be worried that the hour is late, because they relieve me of having to do a lot, okay? Because they brought it. And of course, our local minister, the student minister here at the historic Muhammad Mosque number 32, our beloved brother, Brother Charles. And of course, I thank Allah for brother student minister Khalil Muhammad and his powerful message. And on behalf of my family that is here, my older daughter, Sasha, is at home in Chicago. I have 2 grandchildren, Brother Darius and I. And you know, all those of you who are grandparents, you know that you think you're the first grandparents that ever walked the earth. And that your grandchildren are the most awesome people that ever lived. We have a 2-year-old girl, a 3-year-old boy, and they are the center, close to the center, because a lot of the center. But Sister Sherelle, my youngest daughter, is here, of course, my great, powerful husband, who most of you know, Brother Darius Muhammad. We are so thankful to be here, and we thank the organizers of this event, as Brother Khalil gave that history, but Brother Kenneth Muhammad, Brother Khalil Muhammad, and of course, we thank the local student laborers and the believers of Muhammad Mosque number 32 for being so supportive. We spent the last 2 days with Brother Hilario, your protocol director, and I'm going to tell you, there are very few people on earth who are more pure in heart and loving of humanity that you could encounter. And I've been around a long time. And I've met a lot of people, and he is up there.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of, I learned from him how to be more patient and understanding. You know, because you're sitting, we encounter people, but he looks for the best.
That's right.
The best part of the planet Earth and the best part of people. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, beloved, if you look for fault, you will find. Because we all have it. So let's seek the best in one another. But he took us up to Sedona yesterday. And yeah, so you all know. And I have to share with you, we were blessed, my family and I, to go and visit the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan this morning. And we spent 3 glorious hours with him. He's on his fast. And he taught us the entire time. As you all know, he just has a way of speaking to your heart. And I remember the very first time I went out and heard him, he made a statement in that lecture. He said, Allah has the power to heal you. Now, mind you, I'm getting chemotherapy treatment when he said that. That was on a Friday night. That following Monday, I went to my oncologist, which is a cancer specialist. And cancer took both my parents. And I said to the doctor, I really appreciate all you tried to do, but I found somebody else. Supposed to be checking out if you're within months. And I want you to know that Allah, God, you have a direct line, everybody in this room, to Him. And just like you have a unique fingerprint, a unique voice print that nobody has but you. You also have a unique combination of the attributes of the Creator that nobody that ever lived before you, nobody living now, and nobody yet to be be born will ever have. And so if you don't communicate directly, however you know him, because we're in the book of Numbers, in the Bible. This is the gathering of all of the tribes of Israel. And Noah's being called to abandon their identity.
That's right.
Everybody manifests different facets of Allah's light, like a rainbow of genius and brilliance and love. But in this room are the original people of the planet Earth, and it is time for us to go for self. Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan, he said, the black man, the brown man, and the red man will share America. He said the Caucasian is not in the picture. And if you heard Minister Farrakhan at his press conference in 2017 from the Watergate Hotel, where he talked directly to Donald J. Trump, the people of the United States, and black people in America, and he said, at that time, your time is up. Your day is over, and it is our time now. He also told him in the course of that message, he said, the only place that you're allowed to occupy, and we heard our brother say, every place on this globe is your home.
That's right.
But he told them the only place you're allowed to be is in Europe.
That's right.
And we're giving you permission to be there.
That's right.
Because you are natural to nowhere.
That's right. That's right.
Now there is, and I'm going to be brief, there is, because I just feel the consciousness here. And as Brother Charles said so correctly, these gatherings that we're having now across the nation are not to try to persuade each other.
That's right.
We're too highly intelligent.
That's right.
And we know what we're dealing with.
Come on.
Our ancestors on the plantation knew as well. They weren't trying to have lunch with Miss Ann.
That's right.
They wanted to get as far away, as you heard our brother say earlier, in that meeting, we want to be by ourselves. What happened was integration. Integration is a tool, a manufactured fantasy that actually increases the control of white people over black people by destroying black institutions and absorbing black leadership. And this is why we can't get anywhere, because we suffer a resource drain. We are hemorrhaging because of integration. But now is our time to take back what is ours.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a black consciousness that exists now that is in irreconcilable conflict with white America. See, this is why our brother, LeBron James, he got in a little trouble. Because he used the phrase Jewish money. But our people are becoming more outspoken. They are becoming increasingly dissatisfied.
That's right.
And we are taught that it is a scientific principle that dissatisfaction is what brings change. And the degree of dissatisfaction brings about an equal degree of change.
That's right.
So dissatisfaction in the black community is nearly, and in the Latino community, and the Native American is at almost 100%. America has never, ever seen any need to try to integrate us into the so-called melting pot, or to find a way to afford black people a sense of the return of racial pride and independence, while at the same time accepting us as a full participant in their society.
Right.
Why have they not done that? Because it is not natural to them, and it is not natural to us. Remember, and as my brother said, Brother Campbell said, this concept, that's why it's so important, as he said, to be careful of the news. And I've heard other speakers say it. Be careful of what you allow your brain to absorb. And don't go to sleep with a TV on in the room and things of this nature. It's so hard to put that phone down. I know that, because I suffer from that same syndrome. But you need to move it away from you. Because the impact on the neurotransmitters of the brain is unbelievable. And repetition is how lies become true. But as he said, there is a new concept that has been born in America, which is the idea that we're immigrants. Several years ago, when my daughters were still in elementary school, my oldest daughter came home and said, the teacher, this was not a Muhammad University, trust and believe. This is when we were transitioning from place to place. So they were in a so-called mixed school, and this was a black teacher. And we try to debrief our children. And my daughter, Sherelle, is about to get her associate degree in psychology, and we still have conversations about what they said. Okay? But she's as sharp as, she's a laser at this stage. But my daughter, Sasha, came home, I think she was in the 6th grade, and she was talking to my husband, Daddy, and blah, 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 and they said, when we became slaves. He said, what? Run that past me again? They said, what? We became slaves. He took her in the car, went to the school, approached the teacher, and said, what did you say to my daughter? Did you say that black people became slaves in America? And she said, well, that's what the book I have. He said, let me tell you something. We did not become. He said, the word become suggests some type of evolution, some kind of transcendental achievement. You become a doctor. You become a lawyer. You became a teacher. We did not become slaves. Don't tell my daughters that we were kidnapped. The point being, beloved, we have to be vigilant in language, and whenever you hear the wrong thing, you have to check it. Integration is not possible. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called it a sin. Now, a sin is more than breaking a law. It's when you break God's law. Why did he call it a sin? Because it goes against natural law. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad shows us, he showed us how in the solar system, look at the distance between planets. Millions and billions of miles. The planets don't hate each other. But they all float in their own orbit. They each have their own atmosphere. They each produce life, but it is a unique kind of life that is unique and natural to that planet.
Come on.
And this is why when you look up in space, you don't hear any sound. It's perfectly at peace. Jupiter is not upset where Neptune is. Mars is not envious of Earth. Venus is not trying to take Earth's atmosphere and co-opt it. So separation, which I'll go into more tomorrow at the mosque, is actually the creative process. You can't produce life without separating one thing from another. When that child, that sperm and egg come together and join, and over a 9-month period, that life develops. At the end of 9, which means completion, that baby has to separate from the mother's womb. Otherwise, the mother and the baby will die. We all start out as a plant, connected by an umbilical cord to our mother. Then we evolve into a fish, swimming in a bag of water. And then a mammal that is going to require air to breathe. And that's when we come out. So we have been in the womb of North America because we are a hybrid people. We are not the people that were originally kidnapped. And I want to thank the brother for asking. I don't know if it was brother, who asked the age of the audience, who was under the age of 25. I'm so glad, Brother Charles, because I want to say to our young brothers and sisters, and all of this is for you. And we thank Allah that we finally produced a power generation. You are not seeking, you're not seeking acceptance in white America. When I was coming up, it was all about, you got to get A's, we got to prove we're educated, and we're civilized, and we're acceptable. And I thank Allah for my parents because they were conscious. Somebody gave me, for my 16th birthday, they gave me a copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. And we always had Ebony magazine and Sepia and Jet in our house. My parents didn't push white images because children are deeply affected by this. I want to say about integration that it has produced challenges among us, and that is the purpose of it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, as long as we live with white people, we will live under white people. I love what my brother explained to us, that the United States is not a nation, it is not a country, it is a corporation, and it is an oligarchy or a plutocracy. It is a corporation that is completely focused on profit, and we are ruled by a small group of super wealthy people who became wealthy off of our backs. And so now it is time to pay the piper, and it is our 25 and under who are up in line to receive that. That is why there now exists something that never existed in Africa. It's called a generation gap. As our sister Cicely Tyson said, white people invented the generation gap. We didn't have that in our world. There was the highest respect for the elders, and the elders nurtured and prepared the youth. But it is the masses of black people who best understand the danger of assimilation. And it's always been like that. Because the implications of integration are now becoming apparent to all of us. Integration never had a priority among black people who were not tapped to be a prominent servant in the house. In an interview with the columnist Irv Kupcinet in the early 1960s, he was questioning the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about separation. And he said, Mr. Muhammad,
you're talking about leaving, but a lot of Negroes are being successful and they want to be part of white society. And then he started naming people. Now at that time there's 22 million of us and you're naming people who had made it. Call everybody, tell them we made it. I'm the first black affirmative action officer. And we are still getting that. It's 2018 and we're still reading about the first black. Which, to our young people, makes us look stupid. Because they're like, we've been here all this time and we just now became the commissioner of pet control. So, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to the man, he named a few people, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, those are prominent servants in the house. They're still slaves, but they're prominent slaves. And he said, the man said, but they don't want to leave. He said, that's because they're ignorant of the knowledge of self. That's why I'm here to teach them. He said, because what man in his right mind would choose being a prominent servant in another man's house over having his own house? And in the great debate, I've got to call up the names of the two brothers. There was a great debate, though, in the 60s over separation and integration. And it was very in-depth in explaining, and if I can't recall before we leave today, I'll have it tomorrow. But they both agreed that, and this was back in the mid-60s, that in order for integration to occur, let's assume for the sake of argument we could do that. We can't do it without a loss of identity. White people demand that you leave your identity at the door. And they actually tell black people in corporate settings, you know, you're not like the other ones. They treat us like pets. Come on. You know, I was the, quote, first black female, because right after racism, sexism is one of the 4 great impediments to self-development. But in the district attorney's office in Queens, New York, I was the first black female assistant district attorney. And they never stopped talking about it. This is Ava. She went to Georgetown Law School. And she's our first black assistant DA. She's an actual assistant DA. People would come in the courtroom and ask me directions and things of that nature. They did not believe I was a prosecutor. Okay? But I realized when I got that job that I am 100% unemployable. I would go home and say, I can't do this. You're not going to walk around with me like I'm your poodle. Because I grew up in a black community, a black middle class community that started in the 1950s with brothers that were in the Tuskegee Airmen that came from World War II, and they were in that community the first this and the first, and I'm like, we did that already. A quarter century ago. There's something wrong with this picture. And so I say all that to say, beloved, we're grinding metal. Go out and vote. We voted ourselves to death. We have put somebody in every office that exists in America, including a black man in the Oval Office. He was there for 8 years with a black attorney general. And we are worse off than we were before he went in. Because what is our crime? What is the problem in white America right now? Well, Donald Trump, praise be to Allah, the minister called him an anomaly, and he called him the result of God's will. Make a law for Donald Trump. Let me tell you why. Because he told white people, you are free to be white. And when he told them that, the bangs and the horns came. We ain't never wanted you in this field. They have always, the police, shot us and killed us. They were invented. The police department was developed to catch slaves. There was hardly any, there was no prison industrial complex during slavery because we were already contained on the plantation. Prison is not for white males. They loathe locking up a white man. That's why they took Dylan Roof to the Burger King and treated him like he was a little dude in Home Alone. He had slaughtered 9 black people. And they said, are you hungry, young guy? This is the world we live in. But Donald Trump said, listen, it's okay.
That's right.
I'm here to tell you, we're going to make America white again. And as our brother said, America does not operate according to law. I'm telling you as a lawyer. Trust and believe. I worked in their court systems and I saw this is useless. This is an exercise in futility. Because they will either avoid it or rewrite it whenever it bends in our favor. The highest law of the United States is not the U.S. Constitution. The highest law of the United States of America is the doctrine of white supremacy. And despite what they tell you, it has never been overruled, and that is the Supreme Court decision in Dred Scott that the Negro has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. That is still the case. And so, within the black community, even if it could be achieved, it would result in the total absorption of us. And is that what we're seeking? The black community is always being robbed of our institutions. Now, we refer to our black colleges and universities as historically black. HBCU. Historically black college university. I'm asking you this, because I went to one. Central State University, Wilberforce, Ohio, Marauder, yes. And that's why when I got to law school with all them white people, I already said something else. All those white people, and they greeted us at orientation. I was so black and full of myself. Because this is the 70s, so you know, I'm Panther, I've been behind the scenes for the FOI. I'm walking around campus with some little mini skirt, and the FOI is saying, young lady, you should put some clothes on. And I'm like, look, I bought your paper, okay? That's why I understand young people. I understand. Like, I heard that. But I Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So I get to law school, and I'm surrounded by all these white people, and there's a little black face over, hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, hey, let's get together. You see spots here and there. So the orientation person said, look to your left, look to your right, you've heard this before, and 1 out of every 3 or 4 of you will not graduate. I'm sitting between these 2 white boys, I'm like, yeah, okay. Bye, Felicia. I don't fail at nothing. And that's what you have to understand about us. We will not fail at this. We cannot fail. We just have to make up our mind to turn inward. Come on. And to do for self. But HBCUs, see, the only issue I have with that, I don't hear Harvard or Yale or Stanford called a historically white university. Why are we just historically black? Is it because we are not presently black? Just something to think about and talk about. Because in a few months we're going to come back together and have a town hall meeting and really begin to map out how we're going to make this happen. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan already mapped out, already said rather, he took the point, took the heat, and said to Donald J. Trump and the U.S. government, we'll take 8 states. We'll take 8 states. He also said, he gave a message to the United States, a final warning, but he gave us a, quote, final call. So he instructed us. He said, I need 10,000 fearless to make our own community a safe and decent place to live. So we have to start to formulate, because this is not about a religion. We all get up here, we bear witness to what we believe theologically, but that's not what this movement is. All right? We are in the book of Numbers. So in the book of Numbers, the tribes of Israel came together and a census was taken. We need to know who's ready to go. Number 4 of what the Muslims want is about separation and the demand for a territory. Number 5, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I want every black man, woman in America, and a woman in America to choose.
That's right, Mom.
We're not here to browbeat anybody. And you don't need to browbeat anybody. I've had people ask me, what do I say to people at the job? What do I say to my parents? You don't have to say anything anymore. It's time for us to stop talking and start doing. That's right. But the tribes of Israel all have an identity. So why are we here? This is about a common ancestry, a common history, and a common experience. You don't get pulled over by the police because you're a Muslim, because you're a member of the Moorish Science Temple, because you're a nationalist, because you're a Methodist or a Baptist, or you got your PhD degree in economics. You're pulled over because you have melanin. That's why you get pulled over. You get pulled over because you are a descendant of slaves, or you are a descendant of original people of this land who were nearly annihilated by a bestial, murderous people that we have no business rearing our children to associate with. That's what this means. So all I can say to us, beloved, is when we leave here today, we need to think on this. See, words and actions come from words. But words come from thoughts. We're not thinking about independence. That's our problem. Or we're relegating the thought of independence to an extracurricular activity. You can't build a nation after work. You can't give the children of the slave masters most of your energy and brain power, and then when you and I get home at night, we're tired, we're irritated. We don't want to answer our children's questions. We don't want to hug our husband or wife. We don't want to be bothered. We just want to turn on Game of Thrones or, in me and Brother Darius' case, the NFL. I can't get out of here. Cowboys and Seahawks, 2 black quarterbacks. See? Why don't white people want us in nothing? Because any field of endeavor that we enter into, we dominate. They hate the idea of a black quarterback because that's a central position. All right? So for years they've done all they can to keep that from happening. You can't stop it. So now you've got 5 black quarterbacks in the playoffs. And it is driving them crazy. You have black players such as, those of you that know them, Le'Veon Bell. I call these people Farrakhan babies. You got you brothers in here 25 and under. These brothers are your age. They have the skill set, but you have a skill set that has yet to be uncovered. Okay? Some of you in this room were born to do something that hasn't been seen. And that's why you get frustrated. Because you don't see anything that attracts you to the point where you want to be totally committed. Because once you find your divine purpose, you're going to become immersed in it. But Le'Veon Bell is a running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This year, now here's a man making $12 million, $14 million a year. That most people would say, well, I'll take that. I'll run up and down the field and get beat up. Okay, but it's easy to stand outside and say that. He stood up on a principle. I know, and this is how we have to start thinking. He said, I know what I bring to the table. So $14 million may be a lot of money to my people in the hood. It may be a lot of money to this trailer trash that is upset and don't want me to get a penny. But I know that the billions of dollars that are generated in this industry every year, it would not be without the black players, because there's 70% of the players. And there's not one black owner of a team. So the hour is late and very late. And I want to close and take a few questions or comments that you wish to make. But I want to say, integration is like a drug. And every drug has side effects. Every drug that's out here is designed to quell symptoms. Right. No drug cures the root cause. It just quells the symptoms. So, oh, you take this pill, or you feel depressed, so you take this pill and you'll feel better. But in case you don't react right, you may actually want to commit suicide when you take our pill. Another eye may grow out of it. Okay. Chris Rock said he was up at night looking at TV and they were saying, do you have this problem walking? Do you have this problem talking? And he's sitting there shaking his head like, I don't have that problem. He said, finally they said, well, do you wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night? We got something for that. The advertisement is broken into two parts. This is true. The first part that tells you what the drug will do that's good is explained on the 8th grade level.
That's right.
The second part that tells the side effects is on the college level. You'll also notice the man's voice drops. Like it's, take this pill and you'll just run around with your dogs and cats and have fun in the park. And if you do,
And it gets faster.
Sometimes it produces a fatal outcome may occur. If it does, call your doctor.
if you have a fatal outcome, that's integration. Whoopee! We get to live with white folks. We get to go in their neighborhood. See, we think because they live better that they are better. We've been made to confuse money and wealth with righteousness. So because they have manicured lawns and the big brick homes and the private schools and Heather and Sally are all going to college and they're in the sorority. No, they live like that.
That's right.
Because of your and my ancestors.
That's right.
Right.
So when they tell you if you don't like America, go back where you came from, tell them you first. You go back where you came from, which are the caves and the insides of Europe. You were barking at the moon and crawling on all fours until our prophet Moses came and taught you civilization. And then a half-original named Christopher Columbus discovered this continent. We didn't have to discover nothing because we made this. We don't do discovery. We do creation. Side of the moon. One of our scientists blew the planet up and put the moon on. They made fun of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he taught that after meeting Master Farrakhan Muhammad in the 30s. It's called deportation of moon. That's 66 trillion years ago. You, brother, a dissatisfied black man, a scientist. And sister, I want to know what his wife was saying. You right, baby. You should be baby. Some things never change. But anyway, he and those with him put dynamite down into the, you're talking about advanced engineering. Are you serious? Physics?
Right.
Geomagnetic forces?
Come on.
That's who you are.
That's right.
And he wanted to kill everybody. You'll get that, you come out and listen to us more, you'll get that whole narrative. But they made fun of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he said the result of his effort to destroy everyone and himself was he succeeded in blowing away a third of the planet.
That's right.
It threw the earth off its axis. It changed the weather on the planet. It created the polar ice caps. We didn't have those before.
Come on now.
This perfect weather. And we used to all hang out around the equator.
Yeah.
But we were all over the earth.
Right.
But in the year 2000, after making fun of us, this is how slow these people are. And they're presented to our children as being more intelligent when they are less intelligent. So they come and tell you, put your child on drugs. Because your child has attention deficit disorder. But no, your stuff is too slow for a black child. Unless you're teaching higher original languages. But after that occurred, we come all the way down now 66 trillion years, and the great teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes and gives him our the black man's true history. Ha ha ha, this blue said the moon is a... Then in the 2000s, here come white people. We just realized with our science, we just discovered that the moon used to be part of the Earth. No, for real. And it's there because there was some sort of explosion. Go look it up, Google it. Some cataclysmic event took place God knows how long ago. And we don't know if it was a meteor. We don't know if another planet ran. No, planets do not run into each other. No. It was a brother. Out of control. Set tripping. And you know what, for real? I need you to know this because I don't want you to think we were brought into slavery because of some Ham and Noah's sons in the Bible. No, we had to take this dive and then earn our way back into God's favor.
Yes.
You can't tear up planets and not upset the Creator.
That's right. Thank you.
So, yes. So when we do something that monumental, the punishment is monumental.
That's right.
God does use reward and punishment.
Yeah.
Just like you do with your children.
That's right.
All right? So we can't sit here like, we ain't never done that to nobody. So we've done plenty. And there's no time to go into it. And in fact, we made white people. That's another day. Who do you think invented cloning?
Come on.
Them or you? I just told you they didn't make nothing.
That's right.
They discover that's why they got a Discovery Channel. They dig up our parents' graves. They're grave diggers. They call themselves archaeologists. No, you're not an archaeologist, you're a thief. You go into South Africa.
That's right.
So after they stole all these youth, these young brothers and sisters that they kidnapped, because they weren't kidnapping people my age. Did you ever think about how young the first slaves were and how educated and wise they were before they were broken down? You remember the movie Roots?
Yes, right.
What is your name? Kunta Kinte. No, your name is Toby. Your name is Toby. And beat down until he submitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So we are not the people we were, but we're returning to them.
Yes.
And lastly, a sister said to me one time, she said, you know, in one of our town halls, I think it was St. Louis, she said, well, we can't separate, Sister Ava, until we unite. And I said, beloved, we can't unite until we separate. We're going to have to go ahead and go with our differences. And deal with it on the other side. Wakanda is real. It's real. And this is why we were so drawn to Black Panther. And I think a lot of them brothers and sisters did the artistry and made that film. I don't care about Disney owning it and financing it. I flew here on the white man's airplane. I don't care. I look at them crazy. It's your plane, but you wouldn't have a plane if we didn't teach you. It's black women that put you on the moon. Where you found rocks that you brought back to the earth and they smelled like gunpowder. Because the smell of the dynamite that brother used is still on it. And your name is Shabazz. The tribe of Shabazz. You and I are the descendants of those people that survived that explosion. And lastly, the minister said it was so overwhelming. Obviously, if a third of the planet goes, we were knocked out by it. We survived it. We were not, and when we woke up, when we came to, it was a different planet. And that's the only time we had to do some discovery, because we had to go around the earth and see what it had become. And that's why, as my brother said, every part of this is our home. And every part of earth you go to, you see the blackness. My husband and I went down in the Fiji Islands. And we went to an island, an outer island beyond the Fiji Islands. And here was an Australian couple, some white people. And this red-haired, looked like one of the first devil's maids. No color, colorless. She's beyond melanin challenge. She was colorless. She was, oh my God, when they saw us. And we're looking at them like, hey, there's nowhere you can go. You can run, but you can't hide. Because everywhere we go, somebody black is going to pop up. Because you want to make America great again, we want to make Earth good again. You want us to get out of your country, we want you to get off our planet. So may Allah bless us all. Maybe a brief Q&A or commentary if someone desires. I know you all have been here a long time, and I think about Sister Natty and Sister Charlene Muhammad. I want to acknowledge her presence. West Coast national correspondent.
Assalamu alaikum. That in the pocket, that did not come out right. Did you all enjoy yourselves today? Perfect. Okay, I want to make sure she's come out right. So this, at this portion right here, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for Q&A. Brother Khalil has a mic, and I believe, there we go, and Brother Elijah has a mic. So what we'll do, if you can raise your hand, they'll bring it over. All right, let's. I see a lot of hands with us. So we're going to rearrange this. Khalil, grab the mic real quick, because I want to make sure we do this properly so we don't skip no one. Let's make this easier. We'll form two sides. Right behind Brother Eric Ahad over here, we can form a line. And right over here, we can form a line as well. So that, and then Brother Khalil?
Yes, sir.
If you can meet in this area, and Brother Elijah can meet in this area. So if you have a question, we can actually be in a nice format. And what we'll do is, Brother Khalil will start on your side one, Elijah will go to your side one, and we'll just alternate. Okay? There we go. Please introduce, please mention your name as well, so we know who's posing the question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ava Muhammad.
Alaikum salam.
The question is we heard many times that Donald Trump is the last president. In retrospect, I'm trying to understand what does it mean that he's the last president, and also because of the hostile current that was happening in this country, and we're talking about separation and moving. How is it? Should we still start doing business and creating businesses for ourselves? What is the move that we should be doing?
Understood. Yes, ma'am. The reference that Minister Farrakhan made to Donald J. Trump as the last president of the United States, going back to my brother's point, that this is not a nation, it's a corporation, that we are witnessing and experiencing the fall of America right now.
Yeah.
If you watch every day and look at what's going on, their structure is disintegrating. Right now, you have a government that's shut down. Federal national parks are closed. All right? The two parties, the so-called parties of government, the Democrat and the Republican, are completely at odds with each other, and then within those parties, there are serious fractions. It is similar to an earthquake when the earth begins to break apart because of the collision of its plates deep down at its core. This is what's going on. And if we look at the fall of America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he predicted all of this 40 and almost 50 years ago. So this is why Donald Trump is the last president. It is not the nation or so-called nation or country that we grew up in is coming apart. And so our brother said, we're going to be forced into our own nation. Similar to your statement, he said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Allah will make you separate.
That's right.
You know how when you put ingredients together and make a concoction, and if you let it sit out over a period of time, it will separate back into those ingredients. That is what is going on now. And so what we are being called upon to do is to join with one another. We're not saying that we all just pack up, get in a canoe and row our way back to Africa. We're saying we built this thing.
That's right.
And so we're not leaving here in violation of the book of Genesis. When we leave here, we will eventually leave, because this is not the most desirable part of the earth to live on. What we call Africa, which is actually East Asia, is desirable. And what is called Mecca, Saudi Arabia, even though they're sitting on what looks like a desert, underneath that desert are fallen civilizations. That deserts were not on the planet before deportation of them. So we have a future where this planet will once again be very lush and produce life all over it. But behind me? Oh, okay. I'll give it a second. What we have to do initially, though, you do start with entrepreneurship. You and I have to ask ourselves, how can I take what I know and generate revenue? But even before that, we have to stop pouring $1.2 trillion into America's economy each year, primarily in retail. That's where we have to start. Again, going back to our hemorrhage, we just got out of this so-called Christmas. The minister asked us at 10/10/15 on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, and as the brothers have said, none of this is new. Our people originally, they've always wanted to leave. They're kidnapped victims.
Right.
It's only these last 40 or 50 years of integration that there's been a change of heart among the so-called Negroes, and all of a sudden, even when you get into the 1950s and the so-called civil rights struggle, the era of Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King, the initial goal was not to sit at lunch counters and go in hotels with white people.
Right.
We wanted out from under the debilitating effects of Jim Crow. We didn't say we wanted to go to school with them. We said we don't want you sitting up somewhere with state-of-the-art equipment and we're sitting on the dirt somewhere. We want
more distribution of resources. And so number one, let's stop impulse buying. And it'd be amazing how fast we'll see things change. We have more already than we think we have. Paying $1,000 for a phone. Paying $400 for a pair of shoes. Running out and being robbed and bragging about it. I paid $200 for this. That's like me saying I got mud. Guess what I did? Like it was an achievement. I got mud. You paid $200 grand and a white boy is driving one and he paid a quarter of it. You're paying $800 a month. He's paying $199 a month. Because this is white America. All right? The interest on our mortgages, the rent that we pay. This is what we have to start thinking about. And we start in our own block. We start really in our own house. And start paying attention to what we're spending. And then say, let's make some hats. Let's sell some sandwiches. I mean, do we think Bloomingdale's and Macy's or Kroger store, or whatever the big chain supermarket, they didn't fall out the sky. All of these companies started with families. The Rothschild family controlled the banking. All of the power is in a family structure. And that's why all the focus is on breaking up the family, which begins with breaking up the black man and woman and turning our young generation against marriage. But where there are married couples, there is power. Because married couples produce children and they care about the safety of the community. Our neighborhoods have become like deserts. You know, when you see on the Animal Planet, they show you desert life. It's everything for itself. You see, they prey on each other. You'll see a spider run around, ain't got no wife, no children. I'm serious. You'll see a snake pop up and look around. And some of us live the life of a spider. You know, we just lay around waiting for something to tug at the web. And then we grab it and snap. Looking for whose purse can I snatch? Whose cell phone can I steal? And go and sell it to some foreigner who has an outpost in our community. So the man has to be returned to his role. The men of the community. And men are initially reared by women, sisters. But the men have to say, just like Donald Trump wants a wall, we need a wall. But we don't need a physical wall. It doesn't have to be visible. But when the police come cruising down our street, somebody needs to ask them, who called you?
That's right.
Public servant. When do you ever see a cruiser just driving around in the white neighborhood? In a Chinese neighborhood. In Chinatown, you ever see cruisers? Only in our neighborhood. Because if you follow people around long enough, they're going to do something wrong. Sometimes your presence will produce the wrong. So somebody needs to say, who called you? But we're just here. No, you're not just here. You need to go on and leave. And if we need you, we'll call you. But that means the men of the neighborhood have to be together and in sync. We're not going to allow our people to be predators. You hear screaming coming out of a house. Oh yeah. Brother, what's going on in here? But she had it. No sir. No sir. You go on and take a walk. Because we're not going to have that.
That's right.
And I'll stop because I'm taking an hour to answer one question. Most of the calls to the police are domestic violence. Did you hear me? Most of the calls out of our neighborhoods to the police are domestic violence. We have to restore peace among ourselves. And the reason we're agitated is finances, stress. Then we use the wrong thing to try to contain our stress, smoking chemically laced weed that robs men of their testosterone. The women are aggressive. The minister said to the brothers, don't ever stand around in life and pull your phone out and record some white man beating up a black woman ever again. When we see one of ours being assaulted, then as a people we need to all move in. And if that happens once or twice, it'll stop. It'll stop.
That's right.
If you go into a beehive and put your hand in there, I hope you live near a hospital, near an ER.
There you go.
And the bees don't come out with signs and protest.
That's right.
Can we sit down and have a meeting? The lion and the zebra don't have meetings. The zebras teach their children, you better stay away from that lion.
That's right.
And if one run up behind you, you better kick him in the face with your hoof.
That's right.
Because everybody has some ability to fight. So I'm trying to paint a picture of what separation looks like in its infancy stages. I don't want us to hyperventilate when we hear the word separation and think it means wham, I got to run off into the woods or go in the desert, and who's going to make the flat screen TV? The Chinese will sell to us just like they sell to them. Oh, are we going to alternate? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Walaikum salam. This is Marie Bay, and I kind of have a two-part question. The first part of the question is, going with this call for separation, going into 2020 with the National ID Act that they're about to put on the table, how will we handle that as a people, and with the labels that we carry as Negro, Black, and Colored, how do we come out of that with a nationality?
Yes, ma'am. Now, let's go back to the Muslim program, and let's just follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let's use the minister as an example. How does he handle himself? How does he introduce himself? What does he say he is? I was with him in 1986 working as his administrative assistant, the same year he started the study guides, when Ronald Reagan issued an executive order when the United States wanted to go to war with Libya, and ultimately because they want those oil fields, and there are myriad reasons. Ronald Reagan, who was president at the time, issued an executive order that forbid any U.S. citizen from traveling to Libya. Now, to your point, white people, they'll call us a citizen in a minute when it facilitates what they want to do. You're a U.S. citizen, therefore you have to follow such and such a rule. Minister Farrakhan said, I ain't no citizen. Now, he had a driver's license, passport, all of that. See, we're people in transition.
Right.
So we have the driver's license, we have the passport. Some of us are still in their name. That doesn't change who I am. Am I right to say who I am, and that because of you, it's going to take a period of time for me to arrive at the other side. In the meantime, I don't have to yield to anything that conflicts with my belief system. So the minister said, even though you forbid it, I'm going to Libya anyway. And he went. And while he was gone, on, the U.S. Attorney General, Edwin Meese, goes in the newspaper in Chicago and said, we're going to lock him up the moment he steps foot on U.S. soil. So Brother Ava Muhammad, myself, and several other attorneys, we went to D.C. in the federal court and filed a preemptive action. A preemptive action is when you file a lawsuit over an injury that hasn't even happened. And you're saying, if this happens, it's going to do irreparable harm. So we went to court and shocked them. We said, Minister Farrakhan is out of the country, they're trying to lock him up, and if they lock him up, it's going to do irreparable harm to us and to him. So the judge asked the U.S. Attorney General's office in court, are you all planning to lock up Minister Farrakhan? You know what they said? No, sir, Judge. I am telling us, there's nothing for you to be concerned about. This is our time. So they can come with their national ID. They have called us niggers, colored, Negro, Afro-American, African-American. Like somebody said today, that's Jesse Jackson that came out with, he goes in the White House and comes out and we're African-American. So every decade, we've been something different. But white people have been white ever since we knew them. Ever since we met them, we white people. So we're black people.
That's right.
And so as we build communities, we will develop our own identity, our own licensing. In fact, we will certify one another to be doctors and lawyers and teachers. Harvard University started in the 1600s under some trees on a bench. And you know, it's like Huggy Bear said on the Red Fox show, because I'm a lawyer. Who says you're a lawyer? Me? Well, who said you ain't a lawyer? State of California? But in other words, we are beginning to take over our own destiny.
Assalamu alaikum. Jacqueline Muhammad from Mosque 27.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I don't really have a question.
Okay.
I just have a presentation. I have, for the longest, since my parents became Muslims in '57, I'm second generation. And all I've heard the messenger talk about, y'all be like Muhammad say, is get some land to do for yourself. Well, I have some land that I like to speak with you or whoever about, so that we can get up and make this happen.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to do that, and like I said, all these information so that you can review it.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's in one of the states, but I know that Honorable Elijah Muhammad says Texas was one of his issues with the land.
He sure did. We talked about that.
Yeah, the messenger always talked about Texas, and so
that's right.
I have about 3,000 or more acres.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We can speak after. Yes, ma'am. Oh. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
My name is Brenda Zaire and I have a question.
Okay, yes, sir.
My question is, what will happen when white people get off our land?
White people get off of our land, off our planet, we will have peace and joy and prosperity. Because, my beloved brother, white people are a mistake we made 6,000 years ago. And we won't make that mistake again. Thank you. Wakanda forever,
Assalamu Sister Ava. My name is Sister Hope, and I'm here at
Yes, ma'am.
Mosque 32. And the question I want to ask you, do you know the 8th state that the minister is thinking about?
No, I do not.
Okay.
And I'm not hiding there. but at the proper time, he'll share that with us. And I think we can, if you go back and look at what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about fertile soil. Right. Also, we need access to waterways. We need to be able to get out of here, in and out. We're not going to be locked in. And then of course, we spent most of our time in this country in the South. And in certain states like Mississippi, we're the majority population. I'll say this real quick, that if you look, even though they're Caucasian, so it's not the same level, but there's some analogy. Study the Mormon church to get an idea of how this goes down. You actually start populating areas, right? Okay, and it's not. Once we make up our mind that we want to do this, we're going to be amazed at how quickly this happens.
That's right.
But white people do it all the time. They sit up in their offices and they'll say, oh, we want the south side of Chicago. We used to be there 80 years ago. We went out in the suburbs. We want to come back. And they take out maps and zoning, and they completely ignore the fact that people live there. Right. But guess what? The land that God promised, my Christian brothers and sisters, the land He promised to the children of Israel, the Bible said it was occupied. You didn't hear me. It was not empty land. It was occupied. And the Bible said not only was it occupied, it was occupied by a strong people, giants. And they had built cities. And yet God said, that's what I tagged for you. That's right. So go on in there. That's yours. You go in there and take it. Lastly, Minister Farrakhan tells us of a time as a young minister. He went and, I think he spoke at Harvard University to some people, and he came back and told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about it, and he said he told the audience that he is so anxious to separate. He said that we will cut the trees, we will clear the land, we will do all the work we need to do to make it habitable. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no sir, brother. No sir. We did that. He said all that buildings and land and devils got, they're gonna have to leave. And we are taught that it's at their end that they're the busiest. They will build until the last second.
That's right.
So don't be fooled by these cranes and every city in America. Aren't they taking care of business? That's for you. That's for you. This way?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Just
sir.
one moment. Someone let them again. Perfect. I just want to let everyone know these will be the last 4 questions.
Yes, sir.
So we be respectful to Dr. Ava's time as well.
Thank you, sir.
All right, peace. I come in the name of True Father Allah. And sister, you were talking about language earlier. In the lessons, it talks about our word being our bond. And we keep referring to this system, the highest law in this country is white supremacy. And I just want to have a request to you and everybody who's here. Can we start referring to it as something that's more right and exact? And what me and my brothers have to start to call this white insanity. You know what I'm saying? White insanity.
White insanity.
And I feel like when you were talking about that advertisement, that's a great example.
No, I love what you're saying, because white supremacy is insanity. And the minister stated in his monumental course, Self-Improvement, the basis for community development, in study guide 12 of his 21 guides, what the brother just talked about. He said white people have an extreme consciousness of their whiteness. And it's to the point where that's why Trump can do what he does. There was recently, and I can't think of the executive order, beloved, that Trump signed. And of course, he's semi-literate. He's an intelligent man, but he's ignorant. You understand what I'm saying? You can be intelligent, but be ignorant. You're not a studied, well-read, thoughtful person. But he signed some order or agreed where all these white people in America, unbeknownst to you and I, have been getting all this subsidy money to repair their homes. Okay? But this law now, it withdrew the funding. Because ultimately, Trump is in office to protect the super wealthy. And you see on TV why we're told don't get too caught up in so-called mainstream. We just see the poor white base. But the other part of his base are the billionaires. And what he has done is free them from paying any taxes. They're so greedy, which is another form of insanity. They're so greedy, they don't want to give a penny into the pot of the nation that made them wealthy. But he brought about the withdrawal of the federal funding that helps them repair their homes. So somebody from MSNBC went out in Kentucky or somewhere, and this white couple had been in the middle of fixing their house up and had to stop. And the interviewer said, well, what do you think of Mr. Trump? Just taking the money in midstream and you being cut off. You know what they responded? I guess he knows what he's doing. So to my brother's point, see, that's insanity. When someone can play on your arrogance and your racism to the extent that they take your life away. But all they give you in return is white only. So you're right, it is insanity. Don't you look handsome.
My name is Brother Blake X. I'm from Mosque number 32. My question is, what do you mean by get out of the planet?
Oh, to white people? Yes. When we say get off our planet or get out of our planet, we are saying it is time for your end to come. White people were born or brought into existence on a day certain. And anything that has a definitive beginning has a definitive end. Black people, your ancestors, don't have a birth record. No one knows the exact day we came into existence. We know it was trillions of years ago. So you don't have an end and I don't have an end. But white people were here for a certain time. And we're telling them, it's up. The whole carriage is turning back into a pumpkin. The horsemen are turning back into monks. But I love, my brother looks good. Protect where he goes to school. Don't you want him to grow up and marry a sister? All right, it's on.
Assalamu alaikum, Queen.
Salam, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ava Muhammad. I was born and raised here in Mosque number 32, Phoenix, Arizona. You know, I did want to piggyback real quick on what you said about the black marriage. You know, I heard Brother Minister, he said earlier, you know, 95% of our problems can be handled by unity And it's like, you know, I've been married for 5 years, man. It's real, man. It's like, you know, marriage is unity. You know what I'm saying? A black man and a black woman here, that's practicing unity. If you have a successful black marriage is unity. So if we teaching the community unity, one of the places to start is black marriage. A successful, happy black marriage. Marriage is real, man. It's real. You know what I'm saying? But it's beautiful, like, it's real good. It make you stronger, bring out that power, man, for real. I just gotta let it out. Straight up, man. You know, and you know, sister, you talked about the black wall. You know, that was connecting with me with the energy, because it's like, you know, I live on the south side. You know, it's a lot of black people on the south side. The unity is strong, we've been strong, and it's like, instead of gentrification, let's start practicing blackification. You know what I'm saying? Come to the south side. You know, we need more black people. We already strong. The south side is not too big. The power is already strong with the black unity. So if y'all from the Midwest, y'all coming down to Phoenix, y'all want to see some more power, come to the south side, man. Let's blackify the south side. I don't have too many to say. So yeah, that's down. Thank you, brother, for that, but I don't really have a question. Thank you, brother. So the south side is where, if y'all don't know, that's where Mr. Farrakhan's house is at. On the south side, that's where Mr. Farrakhan's house is at. And our unity is strong, there's a lot of power there. And you know, blackify the south side.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, sister. You know, I listen. You've helped me a lot with my marriage also by listening to your your CDs on YouTube also. You know, it actually helped me with my marriage too. And I go there for a source of guidance. Mr. Farrakhan, you also, you know, Minister Nuri, you know, the YouTube videos really helped me out when it comes to successful black marriage.
Self-promotion. I do have my book, Real Love, here. And if you don't have it, get it today. And if you get it, you'll get a complimentary copy of my lecture, The Sin of Integration. Or you can get the Sin of, if you already have Real Love, you should at least have 4 or 5 copies. If you have it already, so you can give them out to your friends and family. If you have it already, then the CD, I think, is 5, so a little bit of that. Thank you, as my sister. Thank you for your patience. Wa alaikum salam, ma'am.
My name is Dina. I wanted to know, first of all, thank you for having such a great engagement.
Oh, the mic.
Okay, I wanted to know, how do you suggest one carries the same energy of consciousness outside of this room to positively impact others on a permanent basis and not just a temporary one?
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. It's all about your connection to your Creator. That's whether you know Him as Allah or God or Jehovah or Christ. You came from the originator of all of this. So through your prayer, through your constant, what we call prayer is communicating with the Creator. One reason we have weaknesses and problems is we make what the minister calls secondary relationships take precedence over the primary relationship. So a marriage is secondary to God. And if you put God first, He guides you through the relationship. So when that is part of your inner self, it's almost like a force field that forms around you, that even though it can't be seen, it is real. We don't see gravity.
That's right.
But if you get up on the roof and walk off, you'll bear witness to gravity. Okay? And you can individually, you can keep people away from you, and you can draw people to you. But it begins with your absolute 100% faith in the one who willed you into existence.
That's right.
See, even though you came through a man and a woman, and God chose them as the agents of your birth, I don't care what their relationship was with each other. He chose them. But He wanted you. You're the goal. Yes. You're the objective. Yes. That's true of everybody in here. So we love Mom. We love Dad. I don't care if they're weak or crazy, whatever. You got to thank Allah for them, because without them, you would not be here. No one takes precedence over the Creator, because He brought them into being.
That's right.
The same way. And you and everybody in this room and a whole lot of other people, I mean, I want you to consider as we close, 66 trillion years since this horrific act of rebellion. What are the mathematical odds that you'd be living today? Why aren't you and I in the ground 100, 200 years ago? Why didn't we have to pick cotton until we dropped dead? Why weren't we in a tobacco field until we worked ourselves to death? Why weren't we hung from a tree? Emmett Till. That could have been any of us. So we owe Allah to do right by those whose lives served as an impetus. He doesn't waste the life of anyone. Nothing escapes His service. And so though Emmett Till went out of here in the most horrific way as a baby, at the age of 13, this physical life is a vapor. What matters is the eternal life that we all seek, which means aligning our spirit and our mind with the Creator. And this is why the minister can step up. Look at him. Look at him. In the Watergate, here's a man, 85 years old, skin as smooth as silk. You know, in this world, when people get that age, their voice changes, it weakens, mental faculties lessen. None of that is occurring. And that is because when you let Allah, God, I want you to hear me well. We're meant to live 1,000 years. This body, if we live right, and I'm not saying you weak, because I already need to pull back on this ice cream and sugar. But if we're doing it right, we have the capacity to be on the planet Earth 1,000 years. This is why we have a frustrated life. It's too short. You don't have to be a lawyer or an artist. You can be a lawyer and an artist. You can say, I'm going to go to Fiji for 50 years. When you live 1,000 years, where are you going? I'm going to write some poems. I'll be back in about 20. But we're leaving here in 60 years. 40 and 50 years. We think 70. Oh, you can call everybody, tell them I made it. I'm dead. The Ava Muhammad said, you don't even know how to live until you're 75. You don't even know how. All right? So I know I'm holding my beloved sister up. But what I'm saying is that we have the power. It's just connecting with the power. The reason Methuselah, because I'm not talking crazy, does your Bible say that Noah lived 960 years? Now, is that fiction, or do you believe your Bible? Or do you just believe parts of it? Noah lived 960 years. He spent 110 years building the ark.
Come on. Think about that.
960 years, he had children to the end. He didn't go out here with no tubes in his nose.
Think about it.
You understand? Think about that.
Yes, ma'am.
How did the prophets live that long? When you turn your problems That's why the minister looks and sounds and is what he is.
Yes.
He turns everything over to Allah and His Christ.
Right.
You don't hear, you're not hearing from Him. You're hearing from God.
Yes.
And that's why He looks and sounds like He does. And that's why white folks back up. They can drop bombs on us.
That's right.
They can run up in Mosque with the SWAT team.
Right.
They can put the little, the little red dot that goes on your forehead. I mean, they can do all that, snatch us in there. Why haven't they? Farrakhan and anti-Semite. Farrakhan, you need to give. Well, why didn't you then?
That's right.
Come on, lock him up. Why don't you do it?
Right. Right.
Stop telling us not to listen to him. Why don't you shut him down? Why haven't you?
Right.
Because you know there's something up there. All these little movies, Independence Day, all this. Where you think? I told you they can't think of nothing original.
Right.
So when they show you this big aircraft, a half mile by a half mile, slowly moving over the United States, killing everybody, except the real one, you ain't gonna have nothing for that. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they know it, and when the FBI raided his home and got all the drawings of the plane, which was built in 1929, notice they started all their science fiction films in the 40s and 50s. That's because the mother plane took off in 29.
That's right.
They asked the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you keep talking about this plane that's going to destroy America. When is it going to do it? When is it going to make a move? He said, when you make a move. When you make a move, it's going to make its move.
That's right.
I'm not talking about some police shooting at us. I'm talking about the big final act of genocide. So they can come with it, but I don't want you ever to worry about nothing. Okay?